reply from Nina today, 1800 938 007. There's an estimated 35,000 childminders in the country, and only 108 of them are registered with TUSLA, can you believe? Childminding Ireland are lobbying for the relaxation of rules surrounding registering so that more childminders can register themselves in order to guarantee a much safer service for our children. Now, the group's CEO, Bernadette Orbinski Burke, is online with me. Good morning to you, Bernadette.
Good morning, Fran.
And thanks indeed for coming on with us today. It's interesting that only 0.1% are registered with the authorities and subject to inspection. Why is this, Bernadette?
Well, I think it's really important to make it clear that it's not that childminders are declining to register. Unless you're minding 4 or more preschool children, you can't register. So it's not, I think there's a danger that childminders are somehow blamed for the situation, whereas in fact there is no system for them, and that's what we're extremely concerned about. And the other thing, if I could just say this, because sometimes it gets lost, not being registered with TUSLA doesn't mean that a childminder's practice is not a quality service.
But it may mean that the childminder might lack formal qualifications, for example, or insurance or the like.
Yes. I mean, at the moment, there's a complete vacuum there. You're not required to have anything, even as basic as Garda vetting. So, as it is a child protection concern, and the other thing to say is that our own members, Childminding Ireland members, are really self-regulating in that vacuum, because to be a member of Childminding Ireland, you have to be Garda vetted, you have to have insurance for childminding. You sign up to a code of ethics, and from July next year it'll be mandatory to have paediatric first aid training and foundation child protection training.
But that's you regulating yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
That's their choice.
So why wouldn't successive governments regulate this area?
It just never has been. It's a historical situation, and in fairness to Minister Zappone, she's the first minister to really take on board this, child protection concern, but also the parental choice to have their children minded in home-from-home settings. That they have a right to that choice, but they want to do it obviously in a safe and have access to state support, such as the Affordable Childcare Scheme, when it comes into operation fully. So she did set up a working group chaired by Childminding Ireland to look at what might be the sort of reforms and supports that would be appropriate for the childminding sector. And the report was launched in March of this year, and the next steps are that the Department of Children and Youth Affairs, the DCYA, as we call it, has been instructed by the Minister to have an action plan, a high-level action plan, by the end of this year. And that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you today, Fran, is that what we're trying to do as Childminding Ireland is going around the country having workshops so that childminders, whether they're a member of ours or not, it doesn't matter if they're parents using a childminding service, that they can come along to a workshop and make sure that their views are properly represented by us to influence that high-level working action plan. There
was much talk caused by Minister Ross about the role of grandparents in minding children, for example. Where would they fit into this if they were looking after kids, for example?
Well, I suppose what we said in the working group, we had an expression that was used for that, which was kinship care. And the idea is not to prevent families minding their own family members. That's obviously not our desire at all. And if the grandparents were working as childminders and were registered and open to taking children from other families, then obviously they should be able to benefit from the same benefits as other childminders, would be our view.
The registration, of course, would put people into a tax situation, and it might mean that it wouldn't be worth their while to continue on. How important is it that that's looked at?
Well, we would always say that, if you are working, you should be registered with the revenue. That's the law of the land, and everybody should comply with that. There is, however, a tax relief for childminders, and that if you're earning €15,000 or less, you're not liable for tax. But that's gross income, not net income.
Right. In terms of you're holding workshops, I guess. Are you, Bernadette?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
And what about Tipperary? Are you coming to Tipperary?
Yes, we're there on Wednesday. Thank you very much for mentioning. We're at the Horse and Jockey Hotel in Thurles from 7:30 till 9:30. And as I say, everybody's welcome, whether you're a member of Childminding Ireland or not. If you're thinking of becoming a childminder, or if you've been a childminder for many years, we'd really love to see you. It's very informal. If you're a parent using a childminding service and have views about what the future should look like, again, we'd love to hear from you.
Right. And do you have to register, or can you just turn up?
Oh, just turn up. We prefer it if you register just for catering and things, but we'd rather you turn up than not. So if you haven't, we support at childminding.ie or 01287 8466. But just turn up. We'd just love to see you there and to listen to your views.
Of course, Bernadette, with more and more people going back to work now, as the figures are just going to escalate. And
I think another point that's really important is that childminders are much more flexible than centre-based care. Parents can often negotiate their own hours with a childminder, which just isn't feasible for a creche. And often people working shifts, public sector workers, ambulance crews, nurses, so on. Childminders are really holding up a huge proportion of the workforce. It's a vitally important part of the childminding sector. And I do think, the benefits of childminding can be lost in this if it's turned into a mini creche, which is what we absolutely don't want to happen. It allows the child's individuality to flourish. They often have the same childminder from babyhood right through national school to secondary school. They're out and about in the community at the post office and doing the messages and so on. So all those benefits that, family life that children are flourishing in, we really want to be careful that any system that's put in place is appropriate and proportionate and relevant to childminding and protecting and supporting, not regulating out of existence.
All right, Bernadette, really good to talk to you today. Thank you and good morning to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye to you now. That's Bernadette Orbinski Burke speaking to us there. And Bernadette is CEO of Childminding Ireland.